Hello to everyone. Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I'm coming on to bring a message specifically for the spiritual leaders. Okay, the spiritual leaders of the kingdom is what I'd like to call those of us who have been divinely called and guided to be a part of not only building the kingdom in the spiritual realm, but also building it here in the physical realm. So this is for those of you who are the teachers, the leaders, the healers, whatever your role is in terms of building the kingdom. I like to reference those of us who are part of the kingdom as the body, okay? And so those who are called to do specific works, okay, in terms of like building the kingdom in both the spiritual and the physical realm, I look at those people as being the 144,000, those who are the heart of the body. And then you have various other parts of the body, okay, of the kingdom. And so specifically this message is going towards those of you who have a divine calling. And so this is not taking anything away from everyone else who has various positions in the body, but this is specifically for the leaders, the teachers, and the healers. What prompted me to bring this message forward was a dream that I had, and I'll just tell you all really quickly. It was a very short dream, but I was guided to, there was a meeting, a meetup, okay, that was happening for all of the spiritual leaders, teachers, and healers. And we was meeting at a hotel. And so we met up at this hotel, and it was supposed to be like a few days that we was going to be doing this spiritual gathering where all of the leaders, the teachers, and the healers was going to be gathering together to teach one another the things that we have learned, okay, to bring and to share our wisdom amongst one another, okay. And I feel like it was being called for us to do this so that we could all be beating on the same accord, okay, especially as being the heart of the body. You want to be able to beat, you want to have a steady rhythm, because anytime you have rhythm that's off, then you start to, attribute it to certain heart conditions, certain issues, okay. So you want the rhythm to be steady, right? And so we was all being guided to meet up at this hotel, and I was very disappointed at what I witnessed, okay. So I was given the message to just kind of observe, not to intermingle, but to just be in silence and to observe like a people watcher. And so we all came together, and I started seeing things that was very unsettling. The men, obviously, they had their area, which was reserved for them during this meetup, and then the women, we had our area. And so as we was all coming together, I heard the men, they was actually talking to one another. They didn't know I was paying attention, but they was saying things like, yeah, you see that one over there, which one you gonna get tonight, which one is gonna be your boo while we here. Literally saying things to one another, making plans on how they was going to get up with, who they was going to pick and choose to sleep with. Then the women were actually talking about one another. They was gossiping about one another, speaking against the other person's belief systems, or how the person looked, how they dressed, how they presented themselves. And it was very unsettling for me. And so I was like, okay, this is not going to work. And then I woke up. So I feel like I was shown that dream in order to bring this message forward at this time, because one thing that I do recognize is being in the age of Aquarius, being in the times of revelations, we recognize that this is when many people across the four corners of the globe is waking up, okay? We're all on different levels in terms of our spiritual journey, but we're all awakening to some degree. And so the part that is most unsettling at this time is that we have leaders, we have spiritual leaders who possess a certain wealth of knowledge, but they have not used that knowledge to actually do the works to heal themselves. And so that dream was definitely, it kind of defined the issue that we seem to have right now. Because when you're talking about building the kingdom, obviously the kingdom is built through those of us who do the work to spiritually become in alignment with the Most High, our spiritual team, and doing the work to heal, to cleanse, to purify our vessels, and to, get balanced again, balancing out your masculine and feminine energies. So everyone plays a role in terms of building the kingdom in the spiritual realm. Everyone that is supposed to be a part of the kingdom has to play their role in building it in the spiritual realm, meaning your spirit is in alignment. You have done the work to heal and to overcome. But in terms of the physical, there are specific people who are assigned to do certain things here in the 3D. You have certain people who are healers, physical healers, okay, practitioners, holistic practitioners, herbalists, actual teachers, different types of leaders who are here in the physical, who are the voice, the beat of the heart, okay? And so it's very important at this time that we are not being misguided or misled by the wrong types of teachers, leaders, or healers. One thing that I was watching a specific video. I'm not going to mention any names, but this is someone who's well known, who's been seen, especially amongst the melanated community, been in this position of teaching for many years. So I do respect this individual in that regard, that they have stepped outside of themselves to bring wisdom towards people who was hungry for wisdom, okay? But this is, okay. They made mention of, they was being asked a question, and the specific question was in regards to altars. Now, I've had many people ask me about altars and creating altars within their own homes, and I always tell them, use your own discernment. Try not to make your altars based on other people's opinions. Just do what you're divinely guided to do. Because one of the issues that this particular leader spoke of, he was asked, how do you feel about altars, and how do you feel when people give their, present alcohol and drugs to their ancestors on their altars? First of all, I couldn't believe that the question was being asked in that way, because it was like, it seemed like it would be a no-brainer, right? But the fact of the matter is, there are many, 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 many people who believe that it is culturally correct because they heard that some part of their lineage did it that way. And so they do it that way. And so they assume, well, because my great great ancestor did it over there in South Africa, then that must be the way. This particular leader answered and said, hey, to each his own. If you want to throw a few pieces of crack on there, if that was their pleasure, then that's what they need. That's how you paying, that's how you giving them respect. If they want, some heroin, if they want some alcohol, if they was an alcoholic and you knew that Uncle so-and-so loved to drink and get it in, then throw, some alcohol. And so it was unsettling, to say the least, okay? And this is someone who is known amongst many, and this video received thousands and thousands and thousands of views, okay? And these are people who are hungry, who are trying to find a way to connect with their spiritual team, which would also include their ancestors, but they're being misguided and misled. And so this is where this message is coming in, because it's so important for the heart to be in unison when it comes to the beat. And so the way that you recognize the heart of the body is through its beat. That's how you recognize the heart of the body. So be very careful for those of you who are needing that fuel, that pressure, that awakening, okay? Because the heart is what awakens. If a person is dead, like, the scripture mentions that we have been spiritually dead, then it's the heart that once the heart begins to beat, then you say that person is officially alive, okay? The heartbeat is what signifies that the person is alive. When the heartbeat stops, then that person is dead. And so we need to be in unison when it comes to the beat. And so this is how you recognize who's the heart of the body and who is not, based on their beat, based on the energy that they project, based on what they say, based on how they live. All of these things need to be in alignment. Am I saying that a spiritual leader, a spiritual teacher, a healer is perfect? Absolutely not. We are all human beings who are still going through our evolutionary process. And so we still have growing to do. Even outside of this lifetime, we're all going to continue to evolve. But at this time, it's very important that we be in alignment with one another, because this is when the building begins. The enemy's structure is being torn down, literally in the physical. In the spiritual realm, it's already over with for these people. And so we're just still awaiting for the full manifestation of the physical aspect of their kingdom to be destroyed. And it's currently happening because they're going to do that amongst one another. They are doing that amongst one another. We've already done our works by declaring and decreeing and taking our power back, breaking off all of these curses and dark magic and rituals that they've put over our people for generations, right? We've done that. And so now we're watching. We are being the watchmen to see how it all unfolds. But in the meantime, we still got work to do because we now have to get prepared to be the builders in the physical. And so if the leaders that we give honor to or that we follow are not in alignment and they're telling you to do certain things, pay attention to pay attention to the beat. That's all I'm saying. Those of you who are a part of the kingdom, you will recognize the beat. You will recognize one that is not in alignment versus another that is. And so when that particular spiritual leader said that, it just showed me how many people are actually traveling down the wrong path. It showed me where the blockages would begin, okay? Those arteries will begin to get clogged up in the heart because people are doing things that's not in alignment with the highest good of ourselves, our ancestors, or our offspring. We have to make sure that everything is in alignment. And so why do I say that I disagree with that, first of all, in terms of giving your ancestors on your altar alcohol, cocaine, heroin, these types of things? Well, largely because we're talking about breaking generational curses, not aiding in them, but breaking them. Okay, not being a part of the problem, but a part of the solution. And so if you're telling me that the way that you honor your ancestors and the way that you connect with them is by giving them things that you know took them out of here, then you ain't breaking no generational curses. You are actually aiding in continuing the curses. You see what I'm saying? And so this is where it's so important to have that discernment and to know when to shut off certain people. Take what you need and leave the rest, because that just shows you that there's something that's not in alignment in regards to specific leaders that will try to guide you to do these things. I always tell people, they've asked me, what do I need to do? Because I really want to build an altar. It's something that I've been thinking about for those of you who have come out of the religious mindset, even though I even tell people then, if you're wavering the fence in terms of your spirituality, and you probably, let's just say, for example, you might be wavering the fence of Christianity versus just going down and taking a spiritual path where there's no name put on it. There's no religion. You just have that alignment with the Most High. You're just taking that narrow road, right? Because Christianity is not the narrow road, okay? That's all across the four corners of the globe. Ain't nothing narrow about that, okay? On every single corner, you're going to find a church. So they're wavering that, at the crossroads there, and they'll say, well, I don't know about making an altar. And then I'll ask them, well, have you not been bowing down at an altar every Sunday when you go to church, every Sunday, Saturday, and Wednesday when you at your Baptist, AME, Methodist, Episcopal, Catholic, whatever church you go to, they got an altar. And that altar, you didn't have no role, no hand in building up that altar, and therefore you have your energetic signature is not even on that thing. Right? This was built up by someone. It wasn't even built by your pastor. It was built by someone who had an intention on what that altar would be lifted up to, or what energy it would be lifted up for. Okay? And so be very conscious of that, because there is an altar at every church, and most churches give reverence to Jesus, the European illusionary fictional Christ that came in to as a replacement of Yeshua, the Messiah, the Black Messiah, who came here to do and did great works, but was sacrificed and had his identity stolen by the false illusionary Christ. But you go and kneel down before that altar every Sunday, okay? You go and throw your money on that altar every Sunday, right? You do all of these different things. You have someone who teaches you from that altar every Sunday. And so, yes, altars are everywhere. So when you know that you are in alignment with the Most High God, there is nothing out of alignment with you creating an altar in your own home. Nothing at all. So if a pastor tells you that, if a pastor tells you that it's wicked to have an altar in your home, you ask him, why is he standing on one every Sunday to teach you and your family? Okay? So moving on from that, when it comes to creating your altar, I personally believe in, I keep it very simple on my end, okay? I use the 4 elements: earth, wind, water, and fire. Okay? So for your fire, you have a candle. For your earth, you have anything from the earth. It can be rocks, it can be a plant, it can be a pine cone, anything from the earth, your crystals. Your wind would be your incense, like what you see here. That will be representation of the wind. Or it can be like a feather, something that will be representation of the wind. So you might come across a feather. And then your earth, wind, water. Let me see, what am I missing? Earth, wind, water, and then your fire. I believe I mentioned the candle already. Okay. So we have something from the earth. You have your incense. You have your water. Yes, the water will be just a glass of water. Okay. And then your fire will be your candle. And so I believe in bringing in all 4 elements. Okay. Because these elements exist, they come together to create life. Okay. So these things exist outside of you and they exist within you. Earth, wind, water, and fire exist outside of you and it exists within you. And so for me, it's a representation of connecting with those who are in the spiritual realm to connect with myself in the physical realm. So as within, so without. So that's how I see the connection of earth, wind, water, and fire. Okay. And so with that being said, you bring these 4 elements together, and this is where you have the structure of your altar. Now, some of you might decide, well, I want to add in this. I want to put this over here. I want to put that over here. But be very careful not to take the path that says, now I'm going to start throwing in some alcohol and some Henny for Uncle Joe because Uncle Joe liked to get it in. Now I'm going to throw in some heroin for Aunt Chrissy because Aunt Chrissy knows she liked to get it in with that heroin. That's foolishness. Okay? Your ancestors, when you begin to connect with your ancestors, I always tell people, make sure that you are also calling in only your ancestors of love and light. Okay? Fact of the matter is we all got wicked ancestors. We got wicked ancestors right here that's still in the flesh, that have not crossed over yet. So you know good and well you had some that's already crossed over. So you want to be very intentional about who you are welcoming into your space. Then I also always tell people that before you ask your ancestors to do anything for you, then you have an assignment to do for them, which is a great one. Because those of you who feel guided to create an altar and to specifically connect with your ancestors, for me personally, I'll just say this. My altar consists of me connected with my entire spiritual team. First and foremost, the Most High God. I call in the Holy Spirit. I call in Yeshua. I call in my ancestors of love and light. I call in the holy angels. I call in the universal, elemental, cosmic spirits of love and light. The whole team. Okay? The whole team. But some of you may not take that route. But I'm saying if you decide to connect with your ancestors specifically, make sure that you are only opening up the lines of communication with those who are of love and light. Okay? And then moving forward, like I said, before you begin asking your ancestors for all of these things that you desire, you need to you have to carry out the assignment. And I'm not going to say you have free will, obviously. But if you want to be able to really do what's necessary in terms of doing your part here, you want to break the generational curses off of your ancestors before you start asking them for anything. So what does that look like? That looks like declaring and decreeing that all generational curses that have been placed over your ancestors, yourself, and your offspring are now destroyed, okay, in spirit and in flesh. That looks like, writing these things down and burning them. This is the way that I have been guided to do it, not from an outside source, but from that divine connection that said, all right, I'm going to guide you to do it this way. That's just how it happened. So this is the way that I'm presenting it to you all. And so you declare and you decree that you're breaking all of these curses off of your ancestors. Okay, because many of them, the fact of the matter is, most of your ancestors passed over without breaking these curses. Most of them passed over in a very weakened state of mind, very conditioned state of mind, a spirit that might have been very low and weakened, or, you know, just it's so many different things that they crossed over with. And so if you consider, you know, a lot of people, they say, well, I'm calling on my grandmother, I'm calling on my mom that passed, I'm calling on my father that passed. But if you look at the life of that person prior to them leaving here, if they passed over with a narrow belief system in terms of their divine connection with the Most High, if they passed over because they couldn't get rid of certain habits, certain drug habits, drug addictions, codependency, sex addictions, lustful behavior, the Jezebel spirit, if they couldn't get rid of anger, bitterness, jealousy, materialism, they crossed over with these types of energies. They might have crossed over from being murdered, killed, anything that could have happened to them where they did not live out their life to the degree where they actually rose into their divinity. Then you're being called to break those generational curses off of them before you can expect that they're even able to do anything for you here in the physical. So you have an advantage as spirit and as flesh to be able to break the generational curses. And so that's what you're called to do. Likely, if you feel like you're supposed to be putting up an altar and connecting with your ancestors, then you are likely the generational curse breaker of your family. But many people end up missing that assignment because they get caught up in saying, okay, well, my ancestors are here, I need y'all to come in to help tackle this person over here because they messing with me, so I'm gonna need y'all to come in and do that thing. So then you calling on these, more than likely you connecting with dark ancestors that's gonna come in and wreak up all this havoc and this chaos and stuff for other people. But you're also creating more karmic debt for them at the same time, even in the spiritual realm. And of course you're creating it for yourself and for your own offspring. So you're further perpetuating the generational curses rather than breaking them for those people who are in that energy. And so it's time for you to bring yourself back in and do some work to awaken to what this thing is really all about. Is it about using your ancestors as some sort of gangster team in the spiritual realm to go up against others because you just don't like what they're doing? Or how about taking a look within yourself and recognizing that, okay, there's some work that I need to do because apparently I'm attracting this type of energy that has me so combative all the time that maybe there's something within me that's trying to be shown to me through these people that's bringing this chaotic energy. So rather than using your ancestors as a measure of trying to, have this spiritual gangster team that's supposed to be going after other people and causing disruption for this person and that person as a result of what they did to you, you need to reel it in, get in alignment, and recognize what this thing is really all about. Now, not everybody that joins here is going to be in that energy, but I'm just saying that is what's being taught to too many people, and that's the beat that's off. That's a beat that's not in alignment. That beat right there is all over the place, and that is not the one that is the heart of the body that is here to create the kingdom. So use your discernment as you take this path, okay? Because this path is very narrow. So that means that it's not going to be a lot of people that's going to travel this path, okay? It's not going to be a lot of people that's actually a part of building the kingdom, whether it's in the spiritual realm or both in the physical and the spiritual realm. Okay, not every teacher is a part of the kingdom. Not every healer is a part of the kingdom. Not every leader is a part of the kingdom. But there are many of them because just like, let's just say in terms of the religious structure, there are many leaders or preachers, in terms of like the religious structure, who they played their role in helping you to evolve. Because some of them, they taught you certain things, and as you begin to awaken, you begin to question, like, hold on, something ain't right about this. And so it triggered you to make you want to seek. And so even though their teaching was in opposition to what you would ultimately come to understand, it was a trigger point that actually helped you to go and seek the answers because there was something about it that you felt was just not in alignment. And so they played their role, but at the same time, that does not mean that they are a part of building the kingdom. They are a part of the heart of the body. Okay? So This message is specifically, though, towards those of you who are the leaders, the teachers, and the healers. And so this might even be, what I'm saying here is obviously is going to be able to be beneficial to those of you who are not who have not been given that assignment to any of those particular roles. But for those of you who have been given that assignment, who find that you feel like you're not able to have certain breakthroughs internally, and you're like, why do I still feel this chaotic energy internally? It's largely because you're connecting in the wrong way. You've received this guidance, and you stuck with it maybe for a number of years, or for however long you've been awakened and on this journey and in this position of teaching and healing, and you found that you end up coming up against a brick wall in certain areas of your life, but it's more so internal. And you feel like there's something that's missing. There's something that's just not, what is it? What is it? And you can't really put your finger on it. It's largely because there's still the greatest works that a person can do in this lifetime or any lifetime is to break the generational curses off of their family. Because when you think about generational curses, you're talking about from the very beginning of your existence. This goes back for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of generations, okay? So to be given such a massive assignment and to take on the assignment and to carry out the assignment is powerful. And it is the greatest works that you can do in your lifetime. Truly the greatest. Even outside of all of the knowledge that you express and that you share with others, the greatest thing that you can do is break those curses, because it's going to open up the doors. It's going to open up so many doors, not only for your ancestors that are in the spiritual realm, but for yourself and for your offspring, all offspring that proceeds from your womb and the womb of the next and the next and the next. And it is going to also help to empower you from where you are right now in terms of your position as a leader, a teacher, or a healer. Because now you've broken those curses off of your ancestors, so it gives them leverage in the spiritual realm to be able to make certain moves for you that they was withheld from being able to do before you awaken to breaking these curses. So that's why I tell people, before you even make the attempt to go in asking them to help you with your finances, help you to bring love into your life, help you with your business and all of these things, right? You want to first do for them the greatest thing that you can do. Not giving them a bowl of greens and some potatoes, because that's what they loved when they was alive. Yeah, let me get them a plate of green beans and a little bit of Henny, okay, and a couple of crack rocks, and this is how I honor my ancestors. No, you honor your ancestors by breaking the generational curses off of your ancestors. That's how you honor your ancestors. They don't need nothing to eat. They ain't hungry. Okay? I'm sorry, but it's the truth. And no, I'm not sorry. I have to be completely open and honest, because this is how it was revealed to me. Okay? And so this is what I'm revealing to you all. And so, like I said, use your own discernment. If you decide, okay, well, what she's talking is crazy. What you mean break the generational curses? No, my uncle loved his Henny and I'm going to keep on giving him his Henny. Well, you go right ahead and keep on giving him his Henny. Because more than likely, you are not part of the heart. You play your role in triggering the awakening for people to go seek answers as a leader, a teacher, or a healer. But you are not a part of the heart that's here to build the kingdom in spirit and in flesh. And so I would say, just like I said, use your own discernment. So I am going to pull a couple of cards here just to see what more needs to come through in this message here. You want to also be clear and understand that even when it comes to the heart of the body, the heart has many different parts of its structure. Okay, so you have the left and right ventricles, the atriums, you have the cut, Lord, all of these different parts, okay, the valves and all of these different things, the vessels, the arteries, all of these different parts, the structure that create and form the heart. And so not everybody's position looks the same, just like not every part of the heart looks the same. Okay, it all has its own little, unique pieces to it, but it comes together to create this one organ that is very vital to the existence of the body, to the life of the body. And so all of us have different roles, but you recognize the heart because the beat, the energy that is projected is the same. Okay, I'm able to go on like this platform here on YouTube. I can recognize who is a part of the heart in terms of teachers, leaders, and healers, and I can recognize those who are not, because the rhythm and the beat and the energy that they are projecting is not the same. Okay, some of the things that they say might sound similar, and this is the thing. You say, okay, well, if these people are not a part of the heart of the body, then how come they've been given this amount of wisdom and this and this and this? Well, it's, those who have been assigned and given the gift of discernment and wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and those who are very good at mimicking, okay, the teaching of others, because there's a wealth of knowledge out here. There's many books that you can read, and you can fill yourself up. You can fill yourself up with all of this knowledge, and you can go and read it and memorize it and regurgitate it. And then suddenly everybody is like, oh, that they must be chosen. They must be chosen for this. Well, they may be chosen to help trigger you into awakening to seeking, right? But it doesn't mean that they have been given this divine knowledge as a gift to them, because the only way to receive that higher wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is to do the works internally to heal, because you got to be receptive to these messages. And the way that you become receptive is by purging and cleansing yourself, purifying yourself mentally, spiritually, and physically. And so you have to rid yourself of a lot of old habits, patterns, people, places, things. You have to make certain sacrifices. You have to pretty much become the vessel. As a vessel, you got to be clean. You see what I'm saying? You got to be clean so that blood can flow freely. You can't have all of these blockage of insecurities, bitterness, egotism, all in your ego, all in your carnal nature. And you got all these different blockages, codependencies, drug addictions, sex addictions, jealousy, envy, materialism. You got all these different blockages that's up in you, but you think that blood is going to flow freely through you as a part of the body, as a part, especially the heart. The heart needs everything to flow freely, because what happens when it gets clogged up? You end up having heart attacks. Okay? So that's where, the difference based on the energy that is projected from the person who is teaching you. If the person that is teaching you, you just like, well, dang, they spitting some knowledge, but it's just something about the way they talk, like, oh my gosh, he just seemed like he's so much in his carnal nature, or oh my goodness, she just seems so egotistical, or oh my goodness, this person is just so heavily into materialism. You recognize it, but there's a tug of war in your own mind in regards to whether or not they have been chosen for this calling, because the language sounds so sophisticated, and it sounds so, they sound so educated in what they speak. But then on the other end, you pick up on an energy that's very low vibrational and dark. That person was not chosen as a part of building the kingdom, but they did pick up on the gift of being able to read, memorize, and regurgitate. Okay? And so know the difference. It's important to know the difference between the two. But we all have our own path in terms of what this looks like. And so it's important to not try to convince others of your position, okay? So this is not about proving to anyone as to whether or not you've been chosen. You recognize the chosen by now. Once your spiritual eyes are open, you know who's been chosen for certain things and who's just doing it because it's trending. And another thing that really gets me is this whole thing about new age this, new age that. In the age of Aquarius, this is the time of the awakening. This is the time where things can no longer be hidden. And so all of those things that was done from ancient, times back, times that have passed, healing methods, and, holistic healing and all of these things. It ain't nothing new about it. It might be new to your understanding because you've been so submerged in religious traditions. but it's nothing new about it. So that new age thing is the most annoying thing that I could ever hear in my life. It ain't new. Okay, this is not new. This is ancient. It's much older even than the Christian tradition, the Christian structure. So people need to get that stuff up out of their head, talking about this is new age, a crystal, you wearing crystal, so you must be new age. Well, I'll take the compliment of being fresh, if you know what, this is the thing. It is a new age. We're in the age of Aquarius now. We coming out of the age of Pisces, where you was heavily conditioned through your emotions and, submerged in religion and, fed this false illusion in terms of what that divine connection looked like. Yeah, we are literally in a new age, but there's nothing new age. There's nothing new about the practices that are now being embraced. Okay, so yes, holistic healing is now back, and it should not have never been placed on the back burner, but it had to be for this so-called structure, the so-called powers that were. They needed to put a hush hush on holistic healing in order to gain the wealth that they've been able to gain through people's illness, whether it's mentally, spiritually, or physically. So, of course, they had to put all of the herbalists and, the naturalistic healers and those who know how to do Reiki and aligning the chakras and all of these different things. Of course, they had to put a hush hush on that, because otherwise they would have no place. Most of the world would know, okay, I have the ability to heal myself, but first I got to go within. I got to find out where these wounds are. I got to find out where the attachment is, what happened in my childhood that caused me to be here and be there. You start to think. You start to go deeper past the surface. So for some of you, the fact of the matter is, now you awaken to the fact that not all teachers are a part of the kingdom. They're not a part of building the kingdom. And so you yourself, if you have not stepped into the role of being a teacher, because not everybody that comes and watches this video is already practicing as a healer, a teacher, or some form of a leader in this, but you feel like you're being called and prepared to do so, then likely you are, because we're preparing to build the kingdom here in the physical realm. And so those people who was in that position of leadership, or a teacher or a healer, but they are not in alignment, or they wasn't a call to actually take on the assignment, you're being prepared as the true teacher, healer, or leader. Yeah, there's many of these leaders that's going to fall back. They ain't gonna have no choice but to fall back, because the real leaders that have been called to build this structure are awakening and rising into their divinity and taking on their assignments. And so for some of you, you're being called, depending on where you're at in this thing, some of y'all are being called to leave your career paths and to follow your destiny, to follow your calling, okay? And you have to definitely ask your spiritual team for guidance in this, okay? That's very important. And keep your heart chakra open. Keep your heart open. So let me just see what's coming out here. Okay, so first card coming out is playfulness. So definitely lighten up your energy, because this is what's going to help you in terms of your consciousness, in terms of being able to see things from a higher perspective. And so with this card right here coming out first, being in that playful, lighthearted energy, is showing that, this woman, first of all, is wearing a outfit that's see-through. And so it's that energy of transparency, like I was speaking on. When you have that armor, that steel armor, you can't receive the messages that should be coming in, okay? And so it's hard to connect with your spiritual team. It's hard to recognize what you should be doing and how you should be doing it, because you can't hear the messages because you got too much artificial layers around you. And so this is someone with a clown face on, which also shows me that some of you are going to need to stay light in your energy in spite of how other people see you. Because when you take that narrow path, you are called to do things that you ain't never did before. That's what they call that crazy faith, where you just say, you know what, I'm going to jump, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with the path that I'm taking or not, whether you are going to go with me down this path or not. I will walk away from people, places, and things quick, fast, and in a hurry, as if it means that this is going to take me towards my destiny unobstructed, okay? And so I feel like that's what many of you are being called to do here. And so being able to push past other people's ideals of who you should be, or other people's opinions on how you look in your current moment. Oh, that she looked like a clown, he looked like a clown, they must be crazy. The crazy people are the ones that walk the wide path. They're the zombies. The true awakened people are the ones that take the narrow path because they see things from both a spiritual and physical perspective. The crazy ones that take the wide path are very much so on the surface, in the 3D, in the matrix. They caught all up in that web of the matrix, okay? So this is taking you into your higher consciousness the more that you're lighter in your energy. And so the only way to be lighter in your energy and to have this high vibrational energy all around you is to release, purge, and, you know, do what's necessary to get to those wounds that might have been buried for a long time, to cleanse it out, detoxing, doing whatever is necessary. Get up and dance, get outside into nature, do those things that people say are too ordinary, the things that people take for granted. Connecting with nature is something that is very underrated, okay? And people think, okay, well, you know, that's not even fun. It's not about having fun. It's about healing. It's about connecting. It's about becoming one with all things. And you'll find that your definition of fun begins to change the more that you awaken. You no longer take pleasure in going out, dropping it like it's hot and getting it in, and, you know, leaning back and laying low. And, you know, you got to have this type of outfit, this type of name brand. You got to drive this type of car. You're no longer stuck in materialism. You take pleasure and full gratitude in being amongst nature on any given day. You take pleasure in feeding and taking in the right things and the right nutrients for your body. You take pleasure in watching things that are edifying to you versus things that are just straight out ratchet, that's going to keep you in a chaotic mindset or in that competitive energy or envy, jealousy, your carnal nature, the Jezebel spirit. You take pleasure in doing things that is food to the soul. And so this is where you're being called to shift your energy so that you can get prepared without being overly concerned about other people's opinions of you, because we have guilt coming out with slowing down. Some of you might be feeling guilty because it's like, okay, I'm taking this path, but things are not moving. Things seems like they're slowing down, and, you know, you got all of this energy clawing at your own mind. So I feel like this is that, you know, a lot of times it's that dark energy, the opposition, the enemy really working and, you know, working behind the scenes in the darkness, trying to send all of these negative things, especially when you are a chosen seed that's a part of the heart of the body. The enemy, the so-called powers that were, and your karmic family, because more than likely you know that you are chosen and you are part of the heart when most of your family is karmic. Real talk. Most of your family is karmic. Most of your lovers in the past is karmic. Most of your friends was karmic. That's when you know that you are part of the heart. Because the greater usually the greater the assignment, the greater the sacrifices that you have to make. So those sacrifices would look like you having to really do a straight throwing away of practically everything that you ever knew. Okay, that's why in biblical texts, when Christ was calling on certain people to take the path, to take the road less traveled in order to go and teach the truth to the people, he said, take up your cross and follow me. I'm going to need you to get rid of this. I'm going to need you to get rid of that. You know, those things are no longer important. Even he decided to walk away from his own town because he said, even those people in my own, you know, where I stay at, those people of my own town don't even respect me. So I got to go outside of this thing in order for people to see and to recognize who I am and what I was called here to do. And so it's a common theme for those of you who are a part of the body, you know, a part of the heart specifically, though. It's even more sacrifice that you end up having to make. And so you might find that right now you straight in hermit mode. You don't have no one around you. And so or at least it seems that way in terms of physically. But what you do have around you that's an even greater reward of that hermit mode is that you're able to connect with your spiritual team, which is something that you might not have been able to do in the past when you had all of these people around you, but they was all artificial in nature. None of them was able to be a part of your evolutionary process. None of them respected your growth. Matter of fact, many of them didn't want to see you grow. And so many of the chosen who are part of the heart, the 144,000, you grew up around people who, your family members that would rather do dark magic on you to cause stumbling blocks in your life than to see you actually forge ahead in your purpose. Okay? And so it gets deep like that. And so, yes, you might be in your own thoughts a lot, needing to still do the work to cleanse and to purge and to know that you are taking this path. You was built for this. This is what you was placed here to do. And so let me just see what guilt is all about. Ooh, that's too many cards. Let me see. What is guilt? Okay, so going with the flow. So it's that energy of, you know, you're doing what's necessary. Yeah, because this is all about the transformation. You've become a totally new person. Okay. And so it can be that energy of like, okay, well, it's important to stay in alignment in spite of all of the opposition, whether it's coming at you in the physical or it's coming at you in the spiritual realm. As a teacher, a healer, or a leader, as a part of the heart of the body, it is important to go with the flow. Okay, go with the waves. Even when the waves get high, go with the waves. When it's smooth and it's calm, go with the waves. Okay, because you don't want to resist, and that energy of resistance is how you get caught up in it. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like, okay, you just want to go with the flow. And so sometimes it's that energy of, okay, in your own mind, it can be overwhelming, especially when you don't have a lot of people around you that you can express these things to. And this is why it's so important to have that direct connection to the Most High and your spiritual team. Very, very important to create that connection. And this is why I began speaking on the altar, because having that in your home is like that doorway that you create, that, you know, where they're able to be in your space and you welcome them in. Okay. And so some people, you know, if you're still wavering, trying to figure out, well, is this the right things to do? Am I going to welcome in certain spirits? Well, think about it. When you say, am I going to welcome in? You got to first welcome them in. When you're talking about lower level energies and entities and things of that nature. So if you're sitting there and you creating an altar and you saying, yeah, I welcome all of y'all in, you know, whoever want to come on in here, then yeah, you just opened up your door to certain types of energies that want to come on in. But when you're very clear and you know who you are and you are establishing your authority in the spiritual realm, then you know that who you open up your door to is the only ones that can come up in your house. That's in the physical too. The only people that's welcome in your house is the ones that you open the door to, literally. Okay? Or the ones that you actually invite in. So if you're not inviting in lower level entities, then lower level entities ain't coming in your space. But also consider that this is where the healing is necessary. This is where you're needing to be lighter in your energy and cleansing and purifying your vessel of all of those energies that does not serve you. And so again, if you have an altar set up in your home because you say, well, I'm connected with my ancestors, but you got liquor on it, you got chitlins on it, because Aunt Betty liked to eat a whole lot of chitlins, but she ended up still dying from a stroke. But you want to make sure she get them chitlins though. So you got some pig's ass sitting on your altar. Then yeah, you might as well just say you opening in the doors for no lower level entities to come in as well. Okay, it might not be that extreme, but that's just real talk. You know, this is not what the ancestors need. What they need from you as a vessel is to break the curses. That's the main assignment here, especially at this time. And then once you've done that, then you start asking, you know, I need y'all to show me how to clear these blockages surrounding my my growth or my healing or my material abundance or my love life. Then you can start asking for things, but you got to do something great first. And it really doesn't take that much effort, but what it does take is your faith, and it takes the authority that you possess, okay? Both in the physical and the spiritual realm. So you're wanting to be unselfish in that regard before you start asking for things. And so, yeah, things might be slowing down here. You might be in your head a lot because you don't have all of that chaos surrounding you to keep you distracted from the chatter that's always existed in your own mind. And so now it's like you don't have no choice but to hear it, but to address it. And so once you recognize that you still feeling certain types of energies and your mind is still in chaos in certain areas of your life, then it's like, okay, do the works. You've been blessed with the tools. So for me, the way that you clear that energy is writing it down and burning it. I destroy and I release whatever. You list them out, insecurities, fears surrounding whatever. I destroy and I release all fear of being my most authentic self. I destroy and I release all anxiety when communicating, because as a leader or as a teacher, if you know that you're called to do something, but you haven't stepped into it just yet because there's a fear, there's an anxiety, there's a performance anxiety, then you want to be very intentional about releasing that. And so then it's going to take you to, I declare and I decree that I release all blockages to my throat chakra and all things that keep me from communicating my truth and stepping into my divinity. Then what happens is that thing that you suppressed that actually caused your throat chakra to be blocked in the first place, which is more than likely came from the root chakra, somewhere from the root, maybe in your childhood where you might have been silenced, unnoticed, unheard, it's going to come up. And it's like, oh man. So then it's like, now I got to release the attachment that I had to whatever this person did to me to make me feel like my voice was not, what I had to say was not valuable, or it was not worth listening to. And so it's going to make you see these different areas. Okay. And so, yes, that loudness, that chatter in your own mind is something that you need to address. You need to release, you need to purge. And so that's why you need your spiritual team surrounding you at all times, so that you're able to ask those questions and get those answers and to have those things revealed to you in this space of solitude that you may be in right now. But you will continue to rise, okay? So that's the whole point, making sure that everything that you do, you're putting forth that conscious effort in your consciousness, in your awakening, with all of this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that you're gaining. You're using it to free yourself, okay? Some of you may need to do a fast, maybe smoothies and water, green smoothies, fruits and vegetables, and water. So, yeah, beyond the illusion. Seeing beyond the illusion is very important, and also living moment to moment, because some of you are not staying in the now. Some of you might be feeling that energy of guilt because you might be staying too far in the past. Or maybe even overly anticipating what's going to happen in the future. And so you putting a negative energy on it because you might not have the vision of all positive things. You might be thinking about potential negative outcomes based on something that happened in the past. And so seeing beyond the illusion is very important. Rising high above this thing like the eagle is very important, so that you can see all of the possibilities, and so that you can see this thing from the full picture in spirit and in flesh. So staying in the now is going to help you to actually pick up the pace here. This says intensity. So while things are slow, you only slow down so that you can do the work to heal, because you can't heal if you're all over the place. You needed that fast-paced moving energy in order to help you to break free, in order to help you to break the chain. So that fire comes in, it's like, oh no, I'm breaking free of this thing. So you need that get up and go energy. Then by the time you break them chains and you get further down the road, you start to slow down and you start to feel like, okay, I need to rest. I need to heal. I need to, really do some work on myself, because being chained, it did some work. It did a thing on my mental. Okay. It did some work on my physical. It did some work on my spiritual. So now I got to slow down to really mend and nurture myself back into alignment, and not only that, but to break down all of the armor that you had to create around yourself in order to defend yourself while you was in bondage. And so now that you're breaking free in spirit and in flesh out of bondage, and you're breaking your ancestors free, that takes a lot. And so to do something so powerful, then after you do that, you got to come back to yourself, and you got to start doing the work to now nurture yourself as you continue to evolve, so that you are fully prepared to build the kingdom in spirit and in flesh. So I'm going to pull one more card, and I'm going to take it from this other deck, and then I'm going to close out, y'all. So let me see. Well, actually, I heard I should take 3, so I will take 3 cards. So I got 2 that just fell out. So let's see. I have here lighten up. So that's showing me it's the same energy of what I saw here, playfulness, okay? Being light, being free in your energy. And so the only way that you can get light is to release those heavy burdens or any baggage, okay? So lighten up. Then you have partnerships and alliances. So this is, I feel like this is us coming together as a team to build the kingdom in the physical. Okay, so, you know, like I said, when in my dream initially, is that all of the leaders and the teachers and the healers was coming together to help share our own knowledge amongst one another, but we was not in alignment. So those partnerships was not going to be balanced because it was too much envy. It was too much Jezebel spirit going around. I mean, it was so much that was happening in there that it wasn't right. We wasn't ready to build. So 3, that's the number of creativity. So partnerships and alliances indicates that we are getting ready to come together with our partnerships. Okay, whether it's you beginning this thing with an actual partner, like someone who is your romantic partner who is also taking this path with you to help build the kingdom because they've been given the assignment as well, or an actual business partner, or, you know, certain friendships, or us just literally coming together in alignment with that unison, that beating heart in unison. But I feel like that's really what this is, the overall picture. But on an individual scale, it may look like those things that I just mentioned. And then lastly, we have embrace the flow of life. So going with the flow is very important. Okay, and so that's the message that I have for you all. I love you. We need to get in alignment, get prepared to do this, because we have a great assignment. And so it's important for us to be in the right energy and to be receiving our messages from the right teachers who are projecting the right energy, who are in alignment with the beat of the heart of the body. So that's the message. If you want a private reading from me, you can always email me. I love you all, and I will talk to you all next time. If you want my oils, you know, you can email me for that as well. Talk to you next time.